Hello guys, and welcome to a new Steel Division video today by me, Vulcan. Today I have for you a 4 vs 4 on Colleville, and in this one I'm going to be playing with the 2nd Infantry Division. On my team I have the 3rd Canadian 101st Airborne Guards Armoured, and on the opposing team we have the 17th SS, 352nd Infantry, 16th Luftwaffe and another 17th SS Division. So a nice variance of divisions. And before I start this replay commentary, there was a couple of things I wanted to mention. First of all, if you guys are patrons and you are watching this video, please go and check out the Patreon poll that I have on there. Of course, you can go through the link in the description and it will take you to my Patreon page. It will be probably the 2nd or 3rd post previous to the latest one. So check that out and let me know what you think of that poll. The other thing I wanted to mention was Capgiven got in touch with me, and he is part of the Templar community. They are running a tournament on Sunday, December the 3rd, and basically it's a 3v3 tournament. They want more people to sign up. All of the details you can find for that will be in a link in the description. It will be under Templar Steel Division tournament, and I'll have a link there to their Steam post, which has the rest of the information you'll need in order to make a decision whether or not you want to play in it. But I would suggest you guys get a couple friends and enter that tournament. It should be a lot of fun, and it's just going to take place over one day, so no like long drawn out tournament, just going to be a one-day thing. Might take a little while to complete, but yeah, either way. It's good that it just gets wrapped up, and it's a lot of fun. So take a good look at that if you're interested in a tournament for Steel Division. In the meantime, let's change this to my point of view and we'll talk about what's happening in this game. So after two of my teammates choosing to take basically the right town and sort of the left mid, I was basically going to go to the right side. I chose the right side because it's quite condensed. I can definitely play around these hedgerows quite nicely with the 2nd Infantry. Whereas over on this left side, the sightlines are a bit dodgy, and there's quite a lot of orchards which are pretty awkward for the way that I'd built the division. I've changed the 2nd Infantry around a little bit in that I have more Ranger assaults than I do Ranger supports at the moment. So close sort of range engagements is what I would thrive off at the moment, but in this environment anyway. Infantry is more going to be a meat shield than anything else. I'm just going to have to be relying on my use of rifles. But either way, on this right side we do have an AT gun. We've got the rifles there. We've got the Ranger leaders. And then we've got the Ranger 30 cal with the Ranger leader there, and a M5 gun. And then we've got another AT gun on the left side with the rifles and the leader again. So I'm just going to speed up this deployment. It did take a little while. Hawkinson was a little bit worried about this left side since he was quite spread, because what I realized after the game sort of started was that the 101st player wasn't actually going to put his troops straight into the town by the looks of things. He deployed sort of center rather than on the left, which left Hawkinson to deploy his troops in the bottom side of the left town, which kind of made him a 2v1. So what was to be expected in this game was that the opposing team would end up pushing through on Hawkinson's side, which was only natural if you're 2v1. And then on the right side, I would have to do my best to push as hard as I can. That is unless, they don't double team Hawkinson. They might basically have spread out the same way we did, but you never really know. So M1 gun unloaded. We have the M5 gun on the right side. The M5 gun's here just because it can make use of the 1200 meter line of sight a lot better than over here. And then I have another M1 gun on the main road. And the flak Panzerbrennens are going to be hitting on the rifles. And I discover that I'm actually going to be up against the 16th Luftwaffe throughout this game. So I've got a single player on my right side here. We've got Arctic Fusilier in the town, so old man's going to have to try and take care of that. I've unloaded a 107mm mortar at the start here, and that's trying to get rid of the AT gun that was up the road. The AT gun isn't really going to affect me too much because I don't have many vehicles. Well, any vehicles for that matter. However, still a decent target to kill, so that when I bring in reinforcements it's not so much of a big deal. Over on this left side I did just drop a rifles here to help hold the front line for Hawkinson. Even though there's not much presence here, it looks like the opponent on that side didn't decide to push really hard straight away, which definitely gave us a little bit of respite. But currently the map's sitting at 50-50. Nobody's got any points just yet, which is quite something to see. But with Danir sort of pushing through the mid here, he's actually starting to make quite a bit of ground, because no doubt they weren't really expecting someone to push straight through the middle. They were expecting people to push on each town. So in some ways, the 101st player kind of ignoring the town probably sort of duped that player a little bit, because they probably expected more resistance. Pack 38 goes down as my mortar hits its target. They have brought up their own mortars, so I'm a little bit worried about that. Spitfire Mark 9 brought in by Old Man, but that's not going to drop its bombs as it gets forced to fall back by enemy AA. Of course, there is the Flak Panzer Brenns there, and they are going to be more than enough to sort of push back a Spitfire early on. Those 20 mils doing the job, especially with 2-star veterancy. Now, a lot of people say that the 16th Luftwaffe are OP, and in this game I think I do a decent job of showing how to deal with them. So that's something you got to look out for. The ME-109 G2R1 is coming in with its 15 HE power bomb, which isn't very fun. You can see I'm sort of spreading my units as much as possible. He actually ended up going for the shot onto the rifles, which was interesting. Didn't hit my M1 gun. And he does try and charge me now with these Flak Panzer Brenns, which does make sense considering he probably thought the M1 gun was pinned down. But the M1 gun on the right side gets the line of sight, kills that Flak Panzer Brenn, and job done. He's going to start mortaring that almost straight away. My M5 gun on the right side getting pinned down by the MG34. Rifles in the open going to be forced to fall back as they bump into some Luftwaffe Jaeger there. And, well, this is getting a bit precarious because a lot of these units are pinned down, and if they continue to mortar this, it would be very, very hard for me to deal with. However, with any luck, what I can do is get this Flak Panzer Brenn killed off, and then I will be able to possibly make these Luftwaffe Fusiliers surrender because there's no command nearby. And if that's the case, then that will definitely help us out. Ranger Marauders there, going to get in range to kill off the Flak Panzer Brenn, which was good. Stops the M1 gun from going down, and I've now got an M7 Double D coming in. The priests there are going to be definitely helpful in pinning down those Pioneer and Fusilier squads. The Pioneer squad was forced to fall back, and looks like Jaran continued that order so that he didn't get surrendered. But Luftwaffe Pioneer taking a lot of damage there as well. Overall, so far so good. We're not too bad. They put on quite a lot of pressure on that left side, but I did have the reinforcement there to sort it out, and this M1 gun has done work throughout this game and is still alive. Surprised he's not still mortaring it. M5 gun, it's getting a couple shots onto the MG34. I was hoping I would be able to kill it off, but it was pulled back by Jaran. Jaran was playing actually really well during this game. So Humber Mark IV and a couple command carriers making a little bit of pressure on the left side. Hawkinson's still trying to make a little bit of a push, even though he is very spread out. Danir's kind of got held up by the Panzer III, Panzerjäger and SBW 204 here. But he's now got a couple of these M3 guns arriving, so should be able to pop those and continue forwards. On the town, we've got two 2-inch characters here from Old Man, supporting his infantry as he pushes towards these Ostruppen. And that's just the 352nd player there, putting up some resistance against the Guards Armoured. On the right side, enemy mortar does do a lot of damage to my M5 gun. I just about managed to get it out of there. Similar to how Pack 40s always survive. The M5 gun with its 6 health is just enough to allow it to survive like a couple of direct hit mortars, which is really nice. I've also got an M7 arriving on the right side so that I can take out the MG and the couple of infantry squads I saw there. Of course, there is also the AT gun that I spotted earlier, and here the ME-109 is just going to miss my mortar as I did move it after I finished that volley last time round. Now this was an interesting engagement. The M1919 30 cal engages the Luftwaffe Jäger at close range. Now, this is a 3-star 30 cal, and it does have quite a reasonable amount of suppression and damage at close range. And you can see the Luftwaffe Jäger here. They're engaging me. I'm against the clock to make them surrender, but surrender I make them do as my 30 cal gets pinned down by the mortars. But did its job there. I was really surprised how well that performed. Without any sort of fire support to help out those Luftwaffe Jäger, it just won out on its own, which is great. So the M7 aiming and firing away at these Luftwaffe Fusiliers. We've got the bomber coming in here to bomb out the rifles. And my M7, well, that actually goes for the shot onto the Flak 88 back here that was dropped off just in line of sight. Just managed to get the attack order in there in time as he dropped it off. I saw it pop in, I targeted it straight away, and we already have done 5 damage to that Flak 88, which is perfect. Priest's really good unit, actually, for dealing with Flak 88s at long range because they can use the fire position. On this right side, however, Pack 38, that managed to get a one-shot 1 kill onto my M7. The idea was to have the M7 engage that from out of range, but unfortunately, because it came round here, the pack was just in range to get the shot off. Ideally, if it hadn't have one-shot killed me, I probably would have reversed, kept it in line of sight, and then used the fire position, but not going to be the case today. 107mm mortar going to be firing away, and boom, indeed direct hit there. 107mm does the job. Flak 88, 140 points down the drain there for Jaran. These 107mm mortars, they are very, very strong, and that's exactly what I need in order to counter this division. So it worked out quite nicely having 2 of them on the division.
Let's get the hell out of here.
Now with other divisions, especially allied divisions in general against the 16th Luftwaffe, you probably want to be focusing more on 25 pounders if you have them, and just howitzers as well. Anything that's longer range than 1,200 meters in terms of mortars, that is, and just anything that's longer than 1,200 meter range artillery should be more than enough to help you deal with the 16th Luftwaffe quite nicely. So there is 2 mortars here providing smoke. I think they're just trying to smoke off my M7. There was also a Fusilier squad running after my M7, so I was a little bit worried about that. You can see that they were trying to push them through the smoke there to get the Faustpatron on target. I'm just going to be pushing through the Marauders. The Marauders will be engaging the Fusiliers at close range. I've got my own mortars hitting their mortars now. I'm just hoping to get the kill onto the 80mm mortar there and get rid of it, which is exactly what happens. M1919 is going to be engaging the Luftwaffe Jäger again. ME109s are coming in with their bombs, and they're actually going to bomb out my Marauder and Ranger Leader there. They missed the shot onto the M5 gun, which is interesting, and with the M5 gun assisting the 30 cal, I actually managed to make that unit surrender as well. So this 30 cal has paid itself off very nicely. And with that mortar fire now coming in onto the 80mm mortar there, I'm actually starting to make a little bit of ground, pushing up the 30 cal here. I've got the M7 almost clear. Although it's in a bit of a bad spot, I'm not entirely sure what I'm up against on this left side. And as you can see, there was an AT gun on that left side, but I didn't know it was there yet. Focke-Wulf 190 with the 2 rockets comes in and destroys my mortar. Those mortars unfortunately move very slowly. So if I show you, they can only run at the 10 km/h speed, which is pretty damn slow. It's slower than an AT gun. So even if you move them after you fired, they do still get picked off like that sometimes. And in that case, I think maybe I just didn't move it. But either way, a couple of rifle squads turning up on both sides. We've got a couple on the left, a couple on the right, and they're quite simply there to make me some ground. I'm going for the rifle unload push, I guess you could call it. We're getting just over halfway here though, which is good. The halfway, I think, is about here. So these little salients that we have going on with the rifles there in the 30 cal, working out quite nicely.
We're out of shells.
M19 going to be engaging the infantry there and pinning them down. Going to unload those rifles before they get hit by the Pak 38. I probably should have done the same for the second one, but they're going to get auto dropped out.
Ready to blast some
M5 gun on
tanks,
this right
sir.
side is getting pinned by the MG34.
Give us a good firing position.
Now that M5 gun's run out of HE ammunition, so it can't fire back, otherwise I probably would have just let it. I should have had this Ranger mortar fire back as well immediately, but
I'm out of here.
I was probably busy focusing on this left side, where I brought in a Thunderbolt to bomb the Pak 38 on the left, where it started firing at my M7. And with that sort of bombed and now mortared by Old Man, I'm able to bring up this M3 Scout here with these scouts, because I've actually been playing this pretty much on hard mode at the moment. You can see as soon as I bring up all this recon, I reveal like tons of units, including the Pak 38 on the right side. I was completely negating or neglecting my recon early on, especially after these Ranger Marauders couldn't really go up further than they needed to. But now we have a bunch of M3 scouts with 50 cals to support our infantry pushes, and those scouts will reveal enemy units for me. I've got these scouts just running towards those Fusiliers. And the M7, that's got line of sight onto the MG34 there. My Ranger Mortar on the right side gets rocketed by the Focke-Wulf 190, but just as it takes out the enemy AT gun, the Jäger trying to push my rifles. With the AT gun dead now, I can actually move up the M3 Scout to directly help out, which is fantastic. Scouts make the Fusiliers surrender there. And I felt at this point I was playing really quite well with the 2nd Infantry, which isn't normally something that happens. Focke-Wulf 190 being brought in again to hit my rifles. M1 guns getting shots onto the Stug 3 that was brought up to help out, but that's not going to last too long, as 11 AP is definitely way more penetration than you need to take out 8 armor on that Stug. And at that range, the job is done. Spitfire Mark 9 comes in from Old Man, going to be bombing out the Opel Blitz there. Really, really good job by Old Man for that attack, because that stunned all of these Luftwaffenjäger, which basically relieved the pressure on my own rifles and allowed me to push up this M7 to just start carving them to pieces. So we've really started to break through now, and what was a slow start has really got rolling, and we are continuing to move forwards. So the M3 Scout there with its 50 cal, we've got the M7s with 250 cals plus the main gun, and the M3 Scouts hitting the 80mm mortar as well. Further to that, I do have a couple of M5 guns on the way. Now we're in phase B, I have those available. So they are now coming up to secure the 1,200 meter range engagements. They've done the same with the Marder 3. However, my M5 gun should potentially do the job. I just don't want to lose my M7 here, so basically retreating that away from the Marder as quickly as I can. Now the Marder does hit my M5 gun and does pin it down. We also see a HS-129 come in to kill off the M7, but the HS-129 actually misses. Typhoon AT kills off the Marder.
Nothing's moving there anymore.
And I do have a plane in the sky, P-47 Thunderbolt, that's going to get on the back of the HS-129, and we're going to take that down. Lovely jubbly. I also had the Lightning on standby. I brought that in. I think I originally brought in the Thunderbolt to just do a normal bombing strike, and as their aircraft came in, Thunderbolt there though, that's going to be dropping its bomb onto the 80mm mortar. Unfortunately, I let my Thunderbolt sort of evac early, which just left the Focke-Wulf 190 to shoot it down. So my mistake there. My airplay wasn't actually the best during this game at all. Losing that Thunderbolt was completely unnecessary, but on the ground we're still doing pretty well. Focke-Wulfs with their rockets there are going to be taking out a couple of rifles squads here and there, but we've still got 3 50 cals on targets. Like, these 3 scout squads are still alive. Well, actually the one on the right side got blown up just then by the rockets, but
We're listening.
the 3 M3 scouts that they came in are all still providing fire support,
Come on.
and that's really important just to make use of all of the points that you are requisitioning.
Burning.
So if you're bringing in a scout squad with a 30-point half-track or armoured car, make sure you use it effectively to get the most out of it, and in this case I most certainly am doing so, since this M3 scout's almost out of ammunition firing at this BEO Storch, which has been brought in to provide some off-map RT for Tehran. However, him relying on off-map RC now tells me that there's not actually too much on the ground, so I'm able to just continue to push forwards, and maybe by doing so I'll avoid the off-map anyway. Another Focke-Wulf 190 coming in. Jaran loving the use of those. M1 gun does get hit pretty damn hard,
Let's get out of
but isn't going to die today. M5 guns smashing the UE 630 on the right side. I do have 2 M5 guns doing the job there. Here comes the off-map arty. It's going to finish off that 30 cal that just did so damn well throughout the game so far.
casualties.
And the Ranger leader takes a direct shot as well, and so does the M5 gun, and that does clear up that tree line. So nice job by that off-map arty to do the job it needed to do. Stoss troop going to be hit by both the M5 gun and the M7. I see both of these bombers coming in. I'm just going to get out of the way with my M7 so that doesn't die as well, and leave the M5 to its doom. Now it's a shame because I did actually have some AA on the way now. I've got 2 CGMCs on the way, since they're using so many Focke-Wulfs and the ME109s. Relying on these CGMCs is definitely going to be something I have to do throughout the game to prevent those strikes from being as accurate and as deadly. Now on this left side, Hawkinson's trying to do his best. He's got a few units spread out here. He's got the Ram 2, he's got the Priests, and then he's got this M4. Does take out the AT gun on the far left. Got to be very careful of that Marder though. The thing is, I think Hawkinson was also very focused on pushing through the town, which he's definitely done a good job of so far. Danny is now pushing up through the mid as well, and Old Man's taken control of the far side of the town to my left. So we're definitely making a concerted effort through this sort of right side of the map. The left side's kind of been neglected, but that's perfectly okay as long as we're making ground elsewhere. I believe in the end the Black 88 did pick off my second Priest here, which was unfortunate. I had it come down here to try and get line of sight onto the 88, but I didn't realise that the 88 had moved into the 1,200 meter range because I wanted to do the fire position trick, but yeah, there wasn't really enough space between myself and the 88. I probably should have ended up coming over to this left side because that would have been a much safer way to do it, but you live and you learn. And that's a dead Priest, so there you go. CGMC is now in position now, so Focke-Wulfs should get forced to fall back. Unfortunately on that left side, M1 gun's not going to survive a second strike. The Focke-Wulf on the right basically hit a rifle squad pretty early on, so didn't have a chance to stop that from happening. And now my lightning here, I completely evac this lightning at the wrong time. I should have evac'd it after I'd gone past the Focke-Wulf 190, but in this case it allows the P38 to get shot down. I've now brought in Gabby though, and Gabby should be pretty decent plane to shoot down this Focke-Wulf 190 if he can get on the back of it, and that he does. And goodbye to the Focke-Wulf 190. 850 cal is going to be doing the job there, but like I said before, my airplay in this one was just not very good at all. I've now brought in the M2A1 howitzers because I want to get rid of this 88. CGMCs are still trying to support this infantry, but not really far enough to stop those double bombing strikes. Howitzer going to continue to just pound the 88 pretty much for the rest of the game here. And I was planning to actually bring up some more once I had the points. We're still sitting at like 54% territory, but the thing is, it doesn't really matter too much now because we're in the lead, and I think I was just stalled at this point. I wasn't quite sure how I wanted to proceed. Jaran brought in these MG271s. We've got to deal with the 88. And most of that requires just artillery. So I was just waiting for the artillery to come in and then I could make another push. Because what happened before was I sort of broke his back in phase A and managed to push through and take advantage of that. And now I sort of hit his phase B where he gets more points and it's kind of delayed my attack. But now knowing that if I get enough of these M2A1 howitzers, I can really put the pressure on phase C where I have way more points than he does to spend and continue to push through. So that's what I was looking to do and maybe try and get the +2 on the go. HS129 does come in, take out 2 of Old Man's Cromwells. My CGMC is gonna force that to fall back, and I do have Gabby on the way to shoot it down, but I didn't want to get too close to the enemy spawn. As you can see, 2 Focke-Wulf 190s are going to pop out. He's going to go for the shot onto the Spitfire Mark 9 here, but I save the day with my CGMCs, and I come round for another go onto the Focke-Wulfs, but the Focke-Wulfs are jolly fast, and I don't really want to take too many hits from Flak 88s. JU-88 does come in. Another target onto Old Man. Dropping his 2 25 HE power bombs onto the 2-inch carrier, and the Bedford supply going to be doing the job there for sure. As long as I keep my artillery safe now, I should be okay. My rifles are literally just acting as meat shields at the moment. And they are taking those sort of airstrikes for me, which is better than my artillery taking the airstrikes. On the right side here, the ME-109s, they take a little bit of damage there from my anti-air, and it does mean that the bombing strike is just that little bit less accurate and allows my M5 gun to survive both strikes, which is very nice indeed. But here we come, more infantry on the way. Since I've now got 3 M2A1 howitzers on the field, I can now start to push forwards with my infantry again. I've got another M3 command coming in. I've got 1 M3 command to assist those 2 on the left, and then I've got 1 for the right side here. You can see the Focke-Wulf 190 getting forced back there by the CGMC. There's also the BEO Storch that I want to be able to take out, or at least forced to fall back until before he can use it. We're seeing that come in. I'm just going to have to start to move all of my units out of the way, or at least away from where they were originally. Spitfire Mark 9 comes in. Focke-Wulf 190 is going to get on the tail of that, however, as Old Man has neglected his AA in the town. And he's going to lose that Spitfire. Yeah, things were pretty precarious, but since he'd focused so much on air and on those 88s and so on, I wasn't actually having to worry too much about my front line. You can see here that Focke-Wulf 190s are just slamming these rifles because they have 12 health. They don't actually die. Now the artillery coming in on the right side there, as you can see, I moved all my stuff over to the left because I kind of predicted that strike coming in after I saw the Storch there. HS129 coming in once again. Gabby's going to be targeting the Focke-Wulf 190. I should have just had Gabby continue to chase the HS129, but I didn't want the Focke-Wulf 190 to get on the tail of Gabby and shoot him down. So here what's going to happen anyway is I'm just going to get on the tail of the Focke-Wulf 190 instead. Unfortunately, he gets out. So yeah, the plan was, like, instead of shooting down the HS129, shoot down the Focke-Wulf 190 because it's more of a threat really. But in the end, he got away, so that's just annoying. Now my artillery is going pretty crazy here. We're trying to kill off the Flak 88. At the back side, I probably shouldn't have left Gabby in the sky. But if he continues to just circle with these ME-109s, he should be okay. So that's what I'm just going to keep him doing for now until I can maybe get them close to my M15s. But the enemy AA is actually going to make Gabby fall back, and now it's up to my M15s to save Gabby's afts. And that's exactly what they do. They managed to make both the ME-109s fall back. Thank God for that. Okay, so here we are. M2A1 howitzers, all getting different targets now. You can see I'm hitting the MGs, I'm hitting their infantry. I'm just pinning down everything I can in order to sort of continue to move forwards. On this side of things, we've got the PaK-40 and the MG both on top of each other. So just going to be continuing to hit those. My infantry is starting to push up on this right side. The Luftwaffe Jäger in the way are going to get artillered as well by the 107mm mortar. And this is, I think, the beauty of the 2nd Infantry when you play around their artillery, is they have this whole like rolling barrage thing where they run forwards with all of these rifles that are basically just meat shields, and all these are used for is to just reveal enemy positions, and then I just have my howitzers focus those positions. Now there is of course all of these airstrikes coming in, but I'm not particularly worried. HS-129 coming in on the right side, but not really going to do anything because there's not really any targets. I've got mainly infantry on the front line now. Now the PaK-40 does go down there to the M2A1 howitzer, and you can see the strikes coming in there as well to try and get the MG. 2 more shots coming in. ME-109 is going to be forced to fall back after they bomb both of those rifle squads, and there goes that MG. So just continuing to make ground here and there. Yes, the rifles on the right side have been pinned down. I still have the 107mm mortar here to help out, and the M5 gun might be able to get line of sight at some point if anything rolls up. But in general, still making ground, and that's all that counts. Artillery firing away. I also now have an M10 destroyer coming up, just to provide a little bit of extra direct fire support, kind of taking the place of the Priest really. The Priest obviously has a much better main gun, but the M10 does indeed have its 50 cal, and I've got an M10 actually to follow that up to maintain its 3-star veterancy. On top of that, I've got a couple of Bofors coming in to reinforce my AA network, and if you guys haven't noticed, throughout the game I have been moving these ducks about in order to resupply my different artillery pieces and the anti-air pieces as they've been using up their ammunition. So just keeping the ammunition up in general across the board. My opponent here, Durand, has brought in his own counter battery. These SFH-396s. These are, I believe, the Russian artillery pieces that have been captured. They're firing counter battery towards my M2A1s, which was rather rude of him. However, I do have plenty of artillery, so that doesn't particularly affect me too much, as I'm also counter-battering him at the same time. M1 gun goes ahead and takes out that unit down there. The Flak Panzer Bren. HS-129 comes up. Tries to get a kill onto my M10 after taking out the M20 command. Doesn't manage to get away with it, however. Bombing strikes do come down onto the M3 gun there, but the M3 gun did not go down. It's a shame I didn't actually end up shooting down the HS-129, because we had a lot of shots on target, especially with 2 Bofors and 2 CGMCs now. The Gabby's hanging about. ME-109 is going to be brought up. There is, however, a Flak 88 on that right side. Do have to be a little bit careful of being stunned as I attack these ME-109s. Not quite going to be able to get onto the tail of that one, as I don't want to go too close to the spawn again and risk Gabby being shot down. So the rifles still moving forwards, and at this point I believe I'd almost run out of rifles, which was pretty crazy. I have a lot of rifles on this division now. I've got like Phase C rifles, which gives you like an extra 9 or something. So running out of them is not something that happens too often, but the way that I've been playing this match against the 16th Luftwaffe has just meant that I've just had to use them as these meat shields for my artillery to get targets, and then they just sort of secure the ground for me. I've got some more of these M3 scouts coming up with the scouts inside, and that's just to provide me with some extra recon, as the recon on the right side has been taken out, the recon in the mid's been taken out. Well, I just haven't really moved it forwards, but the M3 scouts are going to rectify that very shortly. On this right side, the M5 gun gets taken out by enemy artillery. It was unfortunate. My rifles are moving into position on that side though, and we're pushing really quite far up. We're kind of level with the rest of my team. Old man on my left flank doing very well. Danny pushing all the way up in the mid, and then we have Hawkinson pushing up in the town, holding this left side quite nicely. But here we have like a really interesting double push. The 3rd Canadian and the 101st pushing towards the Marder 3 and the SPW 232. There is a Pack 43 here, a 3-star Pack 43, and all of that is just going to get absolutely wrecked. But still, team's doing a great job on my left flank. Yes, Hawkinson did collapse a little bit over here, but it was to be expected, like I said. If he was focusing on both the town and this entire left side of the map, it's going to be hard for him to hold, so no hard feelings there. Now more of my rifles going to go down. Focke-Wulf 190 going to be slamming my scouts as they drop out. And my artillery is further up than it was, but still not going to be enough to stop these airstrikes from coming through. HS-129 comes in again to try and pick off the M10, but I already had that moving back towards the duck to pick up more HE ammunition, so that was quite lucky. P-38 Lightning comes in for the bombing strike, but I instead tell them to shoot down the ME-109s they come across, and we managed to shoot down one of them with that. Instead of doing their job and bombing, they shoot down an enemy plane, and I guess that works out quite nicely. There is a flak Zwilling on the field now, but I'm not going to have to worry about that for too much longer. 4 minutes and 20 seconds until the end of the game now. JU-188 coming in with its 2 30 HE power bombs. Not really going to be able to stop that from dropping its bombs, unfortunately, in any case. And it is going to take out that M1 gun, do a lot of damage to the infantry surrounding it. Fortunately, those Ranger Marauders weren't already there and managed to get away from that strike. Yeah, it's just a matter of keeping the M2A1s on target. Obviously, I am trying to counter battery at the same time, and that's kind of why some of these aren't firing already.
Yes, sir.
My mortar, though, that's been doing a fantastic job on the right side throughout the game.
Sitting on an exploding barrel.
Rifle still pushing up.
Yes, sir.
P-38s and the Thunderbolts coming in.
Eagle 1 ready.
We've got both Gabby and this P-47 going to be hanging about. Looks like Jaran's coming in here with the last of the off-map strikes, trying his best to hold me back as I continued to push forwards, using all of that artillery. And this is just quite simply the way to deal with the 16th Luftwaffe. They're such an entrenched unit, and if you let them like just use their 88s willy-nilly, then you're gonna suffer. But if you keep them pinned down and keep them killed, like you saw, like every 88 that came out, I focused down with artillery. And that's just the way you got to do it. And then you can use that artillery that you're using to kill the 88s to also support your mainline infantry as they run forwards. And that's what's happening now, as even these rifle squads with only 4 men left and 1 man left on this right side, they're still moving forwards. And they're still going to get hammered by airstrikes, but it just doesn't matter. As long as they're making a little bit of ground, all that matters. I could have moved forwards to CGMTs at this point to the other side of this tree line, maybe, to stop some of these strikes coming through. But it wasn't too much of an issue this late into the game. I think this was my last 2 squads of rifles here coming up to support this right side, as all of the squads were getting very low on men. Got my M10 coming up. I'm moving that up to take out the Stur 42, as I don't want that to kill off any infantry. I might be able to just pick up that kill before the end of the game. So that's kind of what I was going for there. Ducks moving about. This one going to be trying to reload the mortar there.
Ready, sir.
Now, as I bring in the M10, they bring out the HS-129, and the HS-129 that had no targets now picks off the M10, which was rather unfortunate. I am going to be going for the shot with Gabby though, hoping that I can shoot it down, and I most certainly do. Gabby's going to be forced to fall back by the Flax Willing. Not too bad. So we traded the HS-129 for the M10, but it would have been nice to have that M10 take out the Stör-42 for us. Because now there isn't really too much I have to deal with that. Don't have any M5 guns or anything, just got a bunch of infantry running forwards. Only 30 minutes left, or 30 seconds, sorry, left on the clock. If it was 30 minutes, that would have been one of the longest Steel Division players or games I'd ever played. M2A1s still got their target, still firing away. And at this point I think I'd pretty much completely countered his artillery back here. You can see that it was very much stunned as I continued to harass them. And I would have like one of each of my M2A1s target each of his artillery pieces, and then have one hit other stuff. And I also had the mortar still there as well, so which was free to do what it wanted because he only decided to invest in those 2 counter battery artillery units throughout the entire game. But there you have it, 37 minutes and 48 seconds, that is a total victory. And I did relatively well, not the best KD. Hawkinson with the 3,325 kills to 1,770 losses. Fantastic job by him, holding on as hard as he could to the left side, whilst also pushing through that town. So getting that nice KD there, really, really good job. Daniel also doing a nice job. And Old Man on my left flank, he did actually manage to push forwards, regardless of the amount of losses that he had. Myself, only 700 more kills and losses, really. And it was mainly due to a lot of those airplanes going down that I probably shouldn't have lost. Just a pretty bad micro on the part of my Air Force, but on the opposing side, some nice kills coming out there from Old Man's opponent, the 352nd player. In terms of kills and losses, unfortunately, not going to be able to see them in this one because I believe I must have left it from the neutral perspective. So there you have it. That's going to be it for now. So countering the 16th Luftwaffe in this one. Hopefully you guys don't think they're still that OP. It's very hard for them to avoid so much artillery like that. So just focus on artillery. Bring it in at the start, in the mid game and the late game, and you'll be absolutely fine. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. Goodbye.